All right, I'm done with that.
No one's got the quarter. All I'll say on this before I shut up is until who picked Uncut Gems? Was that you, Tad, or was that Jared? Until Uncut Gems, this movie raised my blood pressure the most until I saw Uncut Gems. But this still raises my fucking blood pressure.
I guess we're started. Okay, good enough.
I think we have started.
I don't think the non-linearity of the narrative works. And in fact, I think it detracts from the movie. I don't feel like the revelations that you get from it are worth jumping around like that. And I was never particularly confused by it, but I feel like the movie's somewhat confused by it. And I think if you have to start putting titles of where you are in time, you've lost it. Like at that point, you should have just gone back and said, fuck it, we're going to do it linearly.
None of that bothered me.
You know what? It's like repeating scenes from a different camera angle and covering the same ground over and over. It's like, you guys, this story is not that complicated. We don't need, you don't need to unfold it for us. It's like, some of that stuff's just unnecessary.
Well, it's 2007. And so Tarantino still has a big thumbprint on Hollywood at that point. And I thought this is Lumet doing Tarantino.
Yeah, it was kind of just like a gimmick for the gimmick's sake, and it didn't add anything.
It feels like an Elmore Leonard story more than anything else, because these guys are all fuck-ups.
Now,
like,
but it's not as entertaining as an Elmore Leonard story.
No, because Elmore Leonard would be funny.
One thing is, I would not fault is the cast was amazing.
There was the acting is incredible.
Acting is top notch, and
I loved Ethan Hawke. I never saw him play a dummy before, but he's got that haircut, and he just, you know,
I like that. The other right behind Chris, he's got that haircut.
He convinced Jim.
He's kind of a dummy in Lord of War as the Interpol agent. Like he's sort of just an empty suit in that movie, who just keeps getting fucking like run all over by the other characters. Like he's just like, and he's doing the I'm a cool agent man, and he's like standing on the ship and he's like, yeah, we're coming to get you, and they just don't. Like it's just like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought the relationship in this movie with the two brothers was very clearly well drawn. I think it's one of the best things about the movie is that it's very well drawn.
The father.
Oh no, I think the best thing in the film was Marissa Tomei, man. That again,
Marissa Tomei is the best
that
thing in
opening scene after everyone stopped basically fucking
both Aunt Mays.
Oh yeah, both. It was like, first of all, that's an amazing way to start any movie ever. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're doing porn. Oh, that's great. Oh, look, it's Marissa Tomei and
he's super naked in this movie.
It was great. It was crazy, but she's great in this film, and she just, again, someone else said she gets hotter as she gets older.
That was Jared.
That was Jared.
She took this movie despite the explicit nudity, which is something she tends to avoid. There's the sex scene in The Wrestler, but it's fairly tasteful.
Right.
She took this because she wanted to work with Lumet so bad.
Oh wow!
And also, she and Hoffman and Ethan Hawke are all old friends.
Yeah. Also, that kind of
I cheated on whether it was a little gratuitous that she was basically naked in almost every scene.
It is gratuitous.
I think maybe it is.
But the movie knows it's gratuitous.
The movie, well, I mean, it also delineates her character, and actually what delineates it better than any of those many scenes, which are about sex and about her desirability, is the scene at the funeral where she's completely inappropriately dressed in a really low-cut dress.
I know.
That is the only thing that this character values in herself is her sex appeal.
Until he freaks out and she realizes that she's better than this.
Yeah, in the car.
Yeah, like everyone praises Philip Seymour Hoffman's acting in that scene, which they should because it's excellent.
But the shots of Marissa Tomei's reaction,
so good.
Like,
because you see her go from like, oh, I should do something to help my husband, to fuck this guy forever.
Yeah.
Like you watch that tree fall during that scene.
Yeah, that's good.
She does it basically not saying a word.
Yep.
Like it's really very, very good. And
Also,
I think it was Lumet who said that scene's the best acting he's ever seen.
Also, there's the story about this pied a terre in the city with that kid who has the safe with all this money.
The drug dealer.
Really?
Drug dealer? No, was that what? I didn't quite get what's going on. Was that just a drug dealer who helped him out, or is that his boyfriend, or what's going on?
No. He goes. It's an opium den. Yeah,
An opium
den. It's a one person high end opium den.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
100%.
And he identifies all of them by what they drink.
And again, as soon as they showed him standing in front of his open safe with his stacks of cash, I'm like,
look
he's
at
going
all
to
that
rob
money.
him.
That's where the money went.
This movie was never ahead of me at any point, and that was typical of this kind of movie.
I'll second that, John. I'll second that.
The way it set up information and paid it off was like, oh, he's going to get robbed later when he needs money. And sure enough, we got that scene.
So I got to say, another sort of experiential thing of watching this is when the pick was made, I was like, oh, I've never seen that. And I got about 20 minutes into this movie and I went, I've seen this and I don't remember a fucking thing about it.
Wow.
And I really feel like in a couple of days, I'm not going to remember a fucking thing about this movie.
Yeah. Except almost by the numbers.
The acting is really good.
Yeah, it's almost by a numbers.
Michael Shannon.
No, dude. Stop there. Michael Shannon.
On.
When Michael Shannon shows up, it's like putting a goddamn shark into a goldfish tank. It's like the film wakes up at that point.
Yeah.
He's such a force of nature as an actor. When you bring him in there, it's like, okay, well, this is
one of the best things in the whole movie.
He propels the third act all the way out to the end. It's fantastic.
I don't love him in the way that you guys do. Like he's just never quite clicked for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'm not saying like I love him in everything, but I thought he was really good in this. I thought he was funny.
Well, everybody's good in this. Like, there's no bad acting.
Albert Finney overdoes it a bit, I think. Albert Finney has that tendency.
He's only got like 5 scenes. Like
I know, but he does them all like this.
Yeah, but that's just how he looks.
But he knows
it.
No longer.
Sorry, John, that was a good impression.
That's like saying, you know, Philip Seymour Hoffman always looks intimidating. It's like, no, that's just how Philip Seymour Hoffman looks.
No, he always looks dumpy. That's basically.
Well, yeah, but he also always looks like he's about to snap and kill someone,
or start crying, basically,
or start crying.
This poor guy, one or the other.
He always looks like
Mission
he's
Impossible
in a Todd
movie.
Lance movie.
This movie that he's in, like you the whole time you're like, oh, you shouldn't be fucking with this guy. Like, this is gonna go real bad for you.
Although I miss Philip Seymour Hoffman. He was just good in everything he did. He was always good. He never hit his full freaking potential. I thought that's too bad.
And again, talking about the two brothers and how it's like, Ethan Hawke's the younger brother. He's the immature kind of baby. They says he's such a fucking baby, which he is. But it's also, or that he's stupid. And it's like, I don't think Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is that much smarter than him. He's just got a little more confidence.
No,
but he's
a little more ballsy.
Right here, the way that they're framing this shot. Yeah. It's always like little brother, big brother. I
mean, the blocking. He gets up out of the desk chair and sits on the desk so that he's a head taller than him.
That's the stuff where it's like, oh, this is the same guy that made 12 Angry Men. Because again, in a very, I mean, like the screen grabs I was pulling, like this one I really like. You know, all this, him sort of all leading up to what was the first this fucking shot at the end.
Oh yeah,
that was a great shot.
It's so great, and
doesn't look at her, doesn't notice her, just goes straight into the kitchen.
And I guess, I'll just say, I mean, I guess Jared liked this movie about as much as I do. What I love about this movie is it's this character study of every bad decision snowballs and forces another bad decision, which snowballs and forces an even worse decision until you get to the very, very end. And I don't mind the jumping around part. I found the whole examination of these kind of crappy people who aren't as smart as they think they are, like just under immense amounts of desperation, continuously making it worse for themselves.
But that also describes Killer Joe, which I enjoyed much more than this movie.
Also,
the thing I will say about that is, to go back to Elmore Leonard, is that Philip Seymour Hoffman's character in this movie is the guy who Raylan Givens shoots halfway through an episode of Justified. Like, he's for sure he's the idiot, and then Michael Shannon becomes the big bad by the end of the episode. Like,
But
Chris, the thing is,
which is a show that I love.
By your description of like these dumb guys making bad decisions and snowballing, you described every film noir ever made.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
It does describe a lot of movies, and we know the wheels are going to fall off in this.
That's the thing.
That's what we're here
I don't think the wheels were ever
this film is when you start out,
one of the things that this movie does is
it shows you
fall off, because it shows you the first thing it shows you is the heist failing.
Yeah.
So you know that the wheels were never on to begin with.
No,
because it's non-linear. It's like,
no,
here's how the wheels fell off.
yeah, they're stuck on with some crazy. Not even
Yeah,
crazy,
they were never on very well.
Tape. It was like they were not well put on wheels, man.
Right, but I mean, to your point, Tad, about like this is a guy Raylan Givens. I mean, I love Justified. This is the rest of the whoever that guy's. I mean, in Justified, this guy gets 15 minutes. Here, they gave him 2 hours, and there's a certain amount of the Elmore Leonard thing, like a certain amount of 20th, 2000s era. Like they've moderned it up a little bit, but no, I mean, I again, objectively, I was watching this knowing you guys were going to watch it too. I have no problems with this movie.
Okay.
I think it's well acted. I think it's well paced. The jumping around, it didn't bother me. And I'm totally sucked in from the first 15 minutes all the way to the end. I mean, if I have one, no, I mean, the ending's a bit of a bummer. Like the way that it just sort of like, okay, Albert Finney's going to, smother him with a pillow and then walk off into the sunset. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe that could have been.
I like the kind of justice. I like he turns the
satisfying.
He turns the thing off. It starts beeping. He's like, oh fuck. He turns it back on. He goes out in the hallway and he's like, nurse, the thing fucked up. And she's like, yeah, that happens. Just hit reset.
That was actually really clever.
And then taking the heart monitor off and putting it on himself so he can smother him is so fucking smart.
That was great. That was really clever.
Never saw that before.
No, that was a new one. That was a nice novel.
That was because when I made the connection, which was about 15 seconds before he did it, I was like, oh, like it was like I kind of knew he was gonna do that, but I didn't know he was gonna do it that way.
How he was gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
No, but then you got to go. I guess Ethan Hawke got away, and I guess Marissa Tomei got away, and I guess all right, there it is.
Ethan Hawke does not get away because she's gonna tell the cops that he's the one who was there. Like he's not getting.
Well, it
away.
happens outside the frame of the film,
unless he grabbed the ticket and went to Brazil.
Right.
Like, that's the only way he gets away.
Is that a loose end that we don't get to see? This movie's very sort of almost pedantic about spelling out everything that happened. So the fact that we didn't get to see what happens to Andy at the end, to me, felt like it's like
here.
That's kind of
Andy's the dead one.
Oh, what's his name?
Oh, it's over. Okay,
Hank.
Right. Got it mixed up.
But I mean, again, for a guy who I don't know, he was probably 80, whatever he was, 80 when he made this, like
80s.
Again, just completely in control of the camera, completely in control of I think the pacing is great. Yeah, I thought, as a last movie, this was not a bad way to go out.
This was the first movie. This was also the first movie he ever shot digitally. And he said while he was shooting it that all movies will be digital soon.
And he was right.
Like he's like, as soon as they can decide on a standard for projectors, we're done with film because film's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Like that's a direct quote.
Yeah.
Film is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
No. So
Jim's Corner. We haven't heard much from Jim yet.
Quiet.
It's funny that somebody mentioned Uncut Gems because it started out that I really didn't give a fuck about this movie. But I found it easy to watch, I guess. It was sort of like, it was like television. That's about
I never really felt
he started in television, right?
I never really felt the tension that Chris is talking about.
Oh no, I was the first time I watched this movie, I was sweating.
Watching this film, I maybe had to kind of mentally make myself travel back to 2007. You know what I mean? It's like there's that kind of again, Tarantino left a big footprint on how
I don't even remember
these films were made, and it's like I don't remember how this kind of like backwards and forwards kind of like storytelling happened. It was very common.
But I think
it was a weird time travel trip with me watching this film.
You think it's what, Jim?
I thought it was done clunkily.
It's a little clunky. Okay,
I agree.
It was a fad in some ways.
With the staccato, choppy.
I think you could have taken the intertitles out, and we would have still been able to follow it, even though it was jumping.
I think so. Yeah.
Or you could have cut it in a linear fashion.
You could have absolutely made it linear. Like
it's 2 hours long, and I felt like it's probably needed like 10 or 20 minutes taken out of it.
Yeah. All right. I think we're at the cards at this point.
Still huge like this movie a lot.
It's like I didn't feel it didn't really like add to
There are
my
good things about it.
I'm glad for you.
It's
It took me
carried
along.
by it's carried by the acting, it's carried by how well shot it is. Like technically, this movie is very, very well made on a technical,
it is compelling
making a movie level.
That's
Good-
exactly
good
what I wrote down. A
performances.
well-made, not very good movie.